The Northern Cebu College's Incorporated Virtual 85th Commencement Exercises with the theme Life is a Learning Journey, School Year 2020-2021.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang mag-ibig, helas ng sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Upang hinirang, kuya ka ng mag-ibig, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong pagkaw, ay tinatang tulang awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang lang matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang ay di mag-ibig. Luman ang araw ng warhabit pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang higaya ng pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
At the threshold of a new life, life's about to be different. Our memories will help us see the light. We are all gathered now for one last time. The moment's finally come. We join our hands together to show the world we won. We thank you, Lord, for everything we've gone through. Life would have been meaningless without you. We can't forget the laughter and the tears, the ups and downs through all these years. We have finally realized that each of us is a gift of love. We have grown closer through all the years we've been together, through the smiles and the worries we've shared. We know that God has called each of us to love one another, and show that we care. Let's face the future now and make our dreams a reality forever to last. We thank you, Lord, for everything we've gone through. Life would have been meaningless without you. We can't forget the laughter and the tears, the ups and downs through all these years. We have finally realized that each of us is a gift of love. We thank you, Lord, for everything we've gone through. Life would have been meaningless without you. We can't forget the laughter and the tears, the ups and downs through all these years. We
true to you. You are the pride of the Northern, you never forget you wherever we go. Fame that would stand forever, upholding power and honor. NCC, dear, our love will never fade. We are with you forever, to the heart and soul we give. We the NCC chest are united, we stand. NCC, united we stand. We stand.
Please welcome Officer in Charge, Office of the College Register, Marimel T. Makipig, for her welcome message.
To our honored guests, Board of Trustees, teachers and staffs of Northern Cebu Colleges Incorporated, parents, and to our graduating class, good day. It is my great honor to welcome you all in today's memorable event, the commencement exercise of Batch 2020-2021. Today marks the end and the beginning of your journey. The years of hard work and sleepless nights has finally paid off. Even with the sudden change of our normal way of learning, you still continue to adapt and to learn. And in this very moment, you can finally hold your heads up and say that you are now teachers and begin a new journey of being one. Again, on behalf of the teachers and administrators of the institution, I welcome you all in this momentous event. Thank you and God bless.
And now, the presentation of candidates for graduation by the College Dean, Dr. Esther J. Cabatania, and the confirmation of the degree by School President, Madam Luz Fernan Mancao.
As the College Dean of Northern Cebu Colleges Incorporated, after careful scrutiny of the requirements submitted in my office by the Faculty of Instruction, I have found that they have completed the requirements for graduation. I, therefore, certify that these candidates for graduation have fully satisfied the requirements as prescribed by the Commission of Higher Education by each department. For Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English, 40 candidates. For Filipino, 24 candidates. Social Studies, 40 candidates. The total of 104 candidates for graduation. For summer candidates for graduation, English major, 6. Filipino major 5, Social Studies major 5, the total of 13. Madam President, they now await for your confirmation.
By the authority vested in me as the President of the Northern Cebu Colleges Incorporated and as representative of the Secretary of Education and as Director of the Commission on Higher Education, the candidates of graduation having been presented by the College Dean and they have completed the basic requirements presented by the Commission on Higher Education under the degree of Bachelor of Secondary Education. I now confirm you as graduates. 40 English major, 24 Filipino major, and 40 Social Studies major, total of 104. For summer candidates for the graduation, 6 English major, 5 Filipino major, 2 social studies major, total of 13. Congratulations, graduates!
And now, the school's Vice President and Director of Learning Resource Center, Mr. Raul B. Fernan, for his graduation message.
The coronavirus pandemic has caused many school graduations to be replaced with virtual, drive-in, and other alternative ceremonies. And so the traditions of summa cum laude addressing their classmates as this huge moment in their lives is a little different this year. I encourage you to find that one thing that allows you to unwind and focus when life seems too much to handle. You share this experience together in your faces, something that is both exciting and terrifying freedom. You sit at top of life as college graduates and now have the freedom to choose who you are and where you go. Congratulations to all graduates and God bless.
Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English.
Abihon Roel Jr. C. from Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Miss Maria Clara Alison Chavez. Katarina Raymond A. from Marangog, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Miss Fortunata Catarina. Koyoka Jeffrey S. from Kayang, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Marisol S. Koyoka. Dacilio Ayan V. from Sudlunon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Miss Marites D. Gonzaga. Don Jero from Marangog, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Eileen Lansang. Junella Jasper J.M. from A. Pedrosa Street, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Leo Junella. Duwaban Alan A. from Bateria Daan Bantayan, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Rufino Duwaban. Gabiana Hinckley M. from Pulambato, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Ronilo Gabiana. Gidocos Raymart B. from Don Pedro Rodriguez, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Renato Giducos. Lipon Angelito A. from Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Lorena Lipon. Mondihar Jemar M. from Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Danilo C. Mondihar. Sarsalejo January S. from Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Mylen Sarsalejo. Verdida Roldan V. from Looc, San Remigio, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Philemon V. Verdida. Abihon Kristen C. from Kayang, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Miss Maria Clara Alison Chavez. Abihon Mariel Ann C. from Kayang, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. John Ray Y. Olivar. Alivio Loreline Y. from Sumusa, Tabugon, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Roger I. Alivio. Araneta Luis Nicole A. from Bungtud, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Lodi Araneta. Arces Anajesa G. from Pandan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Franklin B. Alboro. Cabardo Emily A. from Punta San Remigio, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Mario Cabardo. Ceballos Sara Joy P. from Libertad, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Rogelio G. Ceballos. Ceballos Sara May P. from Libertad, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Josefa P. Ceballos. Sinisa Tresha Laurel A. from San Vicente Street, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Laurel Almirante. Dignos Lourdes R. from Poblacion San Remigio, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Ryan Albert Dignos. Ivali Sofronia O. from Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Jose Rodolfo Ivali Jr. Gomez Evame J. from Libertad, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Francisco T. Hugalbon. Yuanon Genevieve L. from Udlot, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Kent P. Giwanon. Islis Sheila M. from Sudlunon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Danila M. Islis. Lucero Honey Grace B. from Bungtod, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Ray P.G. Inot Rosasinya. Malazarte Rosemary from Libertad, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Miss Daisy Malazarte. Arnopia Gian from Sudlunon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. Roland Olsha and Miss Brenda Ornopia. Orongan Melicent K.C. from Kayang, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Virgilio Cabalican. Ortega Rofa R. from Don Pedro Rodriguez, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Justin B. Gidocos. Vivida Rochi B. from Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Ike D. Vivida. Rivero Julina from Sukon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Junette Rivero Escolar. Sarsalejo Junali A. from Anonang Norte, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Joel Sarsalejo. Saison Sheila Marie M. from Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Hector Saison Sr. Sitinta Ninya I. from Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Miss Mirasol Elvira. Viraces Maria Melissa R. from Don Pedro Rodriguez, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Melinda Navarez. Villasin Aisa M. from Binabag, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Engineer Alexander Montag and Mr. Raymond Villasin. Ilanan Vivian P. from Manlagtang, Tabugon, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Rodito Ilanan.
Bachelor of Secondary Education, Major Social Studies. Albaran Rex Jr. A. Pulambato, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Lydia Albaran. Aton Regime B. Shokon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Ermela B. Aton. Nyanyola Elmer B. Nailon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mrs. Jenny Branyanyola. Kataga Carlo M. Taytayan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Severino Kataga. Crisostomo Fernando P., Polambato, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mrs. Christine Crisostomo. Dignos Orly M., Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mrs. Giselle Ann Dignos. Ilorde Vincent Brian O., Canticson, Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Jinky Ilorde. Ihurango Arnel S., Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Roque Ihurango. Francisco Franklin L., Nailon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mrs. Rosalia L. Francisco. Gamboa Raul B., Kawit, Midilian, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Robert Rojas. Liamorin Harivon N., Mabulit, Tabogon, Cebu. Sponsored by Vervina Ilosorio. Malait Raymond F., Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. Erlindo Malait. Pilapil Cliffdale F., Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. Mario N. Pilapil. Rio Jericho D., Punta San Romeo, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. Enriquito Rio. Luis Winston J.C., Anunang Sur, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Genevieve C. Ruiz. Ilaran Mark Joseph Y., Kayan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Marifel Y. Ilaran. Sinadhan Rowell V., Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mrs. Joanne R. Sinadhan. Abalie Genevieve C., Kayang, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mrs. Rosalina Abalie. Albaran Angelo V., Polambato, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Belinda Villegas. Arcelius Jessa, Nailon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Joel Arcelius. Arnaiz Holy Rose D., Kanhabagat, Midilian, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Arnel Arnaiz Sr. Bukayan Jihara B., Canticson, Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Romeo Bukayan. Bukayan Joan B., Canticson, Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Romeo Bukayan. Katagbo Mary Chris O., Marangog, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Marina Katagbo. Dagwayan Giselle, Lao, Bourbon, Cebu. Sponsored by Christian Monroid and Mrs. Rogilda Wong. Dignos Darcy, Udlot, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. Elton John H. Lucanias. Maralet Mary Chris L., Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. Brian Maralet. Melendres Angie L., Polambato, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Cornelio Tipait Jr. Okena Mary Rosel M., Kawit, Midilian, Cebu. Sponsored by Mr. Raul Gamboa. Perida Razel O., Badban, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Leonidisa O. Perida. Pinida Analisa G., Taytayan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Diosa G. Pinida. Boto Tria May A., Guadalupe, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsored by Lorita Potot. Rios Mary Christine U., San Miguel, San Remigio, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Carl J. Rios and Mr. Efren Orsal. Rubilius Glendale A, Banban, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Juvie James Rubilius. Sup Jessica P, Manlagtang, Tabugon, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Gregoria Sup. Tanyo Christian T, Don Pedro, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Romualdo Tanyo. Tixon Maria Jonah A, Taytayan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Tixon. Tixon Maria Magdalene B, Taytayan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Nonilo Tixon. Tirol May L, La Paz, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Antonio B. Tirol. Orsal Josel N, Banban, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Jose Rigi Orsal. Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in Filipino.
Conson Ivan T, Canhabagat, Bidilian, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Edgardo Conson. Ismas Jando L, Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Helen Ismas. Malait Rehenzon F, Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Rolando Malait. Ramirez Jelton M, Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Regina Estorosos. Sancados Jason B, Carbon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Jeremy Sancados. Anciano Abigail M, Sudlunon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Abraham Anciano. Awas Ethel C, Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Merly Awas. Balanti Genfel T, Buntod, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Paul T. Balante. Bangges Ronally S, Tabugon, Cebu. Sponsor, Minerva Salazar. Paterna Generose F, Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Marilyn Paterna. Permil Genevieve T, Daan Bantayan, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Gary Rosales. Kabansag Kathleen S, Sudlunon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Maria Jane Kabansag. Kamay Jean Rose E, Pugon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Samuel I. Kamay. Ihem Jessica G, Pugon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Dean P. Ihem. Istaniero Loida M, Sambag, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Nelita M. Istaniero. Lipiten Scafi T, Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Alicia Lipiten. Magdadaro Desiree A, Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Relinda A. Magdadaro. Malinaw Claire A, Nailon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Guillermo D. Malinaw. Mitanti Decime T, Libertad, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Lourdes T. Mitante. Muñez Cyril A. Sudlunon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Jen Bacasmas and Jess Tinga. Nini Bea Marie S. Pulambato, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Austin Eliot Nini. Ochea Danica B. A. Pedrosa Street, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Romy Ochea. Sabiron Medalya C. Kayang, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Maria Fatima Sabiron. Tahadlangit Jocelyn T. Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Sailita Tunyakaw. Veraki Michelle M. Dakit, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Jonathan A. Veraki.
Summer graduates, a Bachelor of Secondary Education.
Tinapay Alan Jr. C. from Kanhabagat, Merilien, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Velma Tinapay. Masong Kerwin D. from Nailon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Pablo Masong. Nidia Jane Anthony P. from San Vicente Street, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Joseleta M. Nidia. Kihardo Cyrus Q. from Kugon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mrs. Eleanor J. Kilis. Bulambaw Merijoy L. from Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Miss Merabel Bulambaw. Dumaog Laika C. from Santo Rosario, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Joseph Dumaog. Bermel Grace T. from Daan Bantayan, Cebu. Sponsor, Miss Carlota Bermel. Mandawi Cyril P. from Sudlunon, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Jomar Mandawi. Dilig Hanelin D. from LPC, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Rubin Dilig. Alburong Marivi U. from Gairan, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Mario Alburong. Encarnacion Marines from Kayang, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Miss Norberta Kapangpangan. Mahilong May Antoinette V. from Argawanon, San Remigio, Cebu. Sponsor, Mr. Rian Ayan Mahilong.
Sabiron Medalya C. Kayang, Bogo City, Cebu. Sponsor, Maria Fatima Sabiron.
Please welcome the President of Graduating Class 2021, Sofronia Ibarle, for the Oath of Loyalty.
Pledge of loyalty. With solemn sense of responsibility, I pledge myself to hold my diploma as a sacred trust, and in view of my obligation to serve, to hold it with untarnished honor to myself and generous loyalty, to my alma mater, and to my fidelity of my country and fellow men. So help me God.
And now, the Dean of Student Affairs, Madam Annie Fernan Magumnang, for the oath of membership to the NCCI Alumni Association.
Oath of membership to Alumni Association. Graduates, do you hereby solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution and bylaws of NCCI Alumni Association and to support all projects for the purpose of mutual help of the member and to assist in CCI to all its efforts and to attain its goal of quality education. This you will do without mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help us God.
And to formally conclude our virtual 85th commencement exercises, please welcome our school director, Mr. Prashano R. Cabatanya Jr., for his words of gratitude.
Graduates, as you leave the portal of your annual letter, the Northern Cebu Colleges Incorporated, I want you to bear with you this three letter P. First, perseverance. Do all your works with perseverance. Perseverance could not stand alone without patience. These two could not withstand the hardship of life to make it stronger. Always think positive. Successful people are those people who think positive. Graduates, you are now a degree holder. Good luck and congratulations.
That concludes the Northern Cebu Colleges Incorporated virtual 85th commencement exercises. Once again, congratulations to all graduates and thank you for watching.